The hot hatch segment is a crowded one. You've got Japanese icons, Korean upstarts, and an all-new Golf GTI vying for attention. So, if you want to stand out from the crowd, you're going to need quite the party trick. Lucky then that the Renault Megane RS has a little secret up its sleeve. Let's go for a drive and I'll explain more. The French have been building fantastic hot hatches for decades now, with cars like the Peugeot 205 and Renault Clio helping define what makes a great, affordable performance car. In fact, the Renault Megane that came before this one is often considered one of the best hot hatches ever built. No pressure then. First revealed in 2018, the Megane RS has undergone some subtle tweaks for 2021, largely to do with the interior. Renault's engineers have left the mechanicals under the skin largely untouched, which has both upsides and downsides. Positively, by leaving the mechanicals the same, it means you get a hearty 1.8 litre turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, which in this RS300 guise produces 221 kilowatts and 420 newton meters. Those outputs are bang on in relation to what the best in the class are producing, so it's not lacking in firepower. It's the same engine that is used in the Alpine A110 sports car, which is a compelling rival to the BMW M2. Being a classic hot hatch, there's no need to get carried away with crazy power figures, and that's exactly what Renault have done. Instead, they've focused on making sure that you can put all the power through the front wheels as you need it. Now, this is probably the bit where the internet commentators will get on their keyboard and go, oh, it's not as good as a rear-wheel drive car. And frankly, that's a bit of an outdated view of things, because there are some really clever bits of engineering that make this Megane RS as potent a performance car as any. The first is a Torsen limited slip differential on the front axle that uses a pair of proper mechanical gears to shift torque between the front wheels instead of relying on electronics. This helps stop the front tyres from spinning up as you apply more power on corner exit. The really clever bit of design though is hidden just behind those new alloy wheels, and it's specifically engineered to combat torque steer. Renault uses dual axis front hubs, which have separated the steering and suspension systems within the front knuckle design. The end result of all that performance is a really competent and confidence-inspiring front end. You can get on the throttle earlier at corner exit without worrying about the front tyres spinning up. Now, torque steer hasn't been completely eliminated. You can still encounter it if you drive like a buffoon, but it's been largely vanquished from the driving experience unless you specifically seek it out. While all that's very well and good for the front tyres, the real party piece for the Megane, well, that's back there. I might need to pull over to explain this one. Of all the hot hatches that you can currently buy, the Renault Megane is the only one that you can get with a 4-wheel steering system. Now, while 4-wheel steering isn't completely new technology, it's been around for a while, it is getting more common in performance cars. The way it works is that at slower speeds, the rear wheels will actually turn in the opposite direction to the front, helping improve agility. As you get faster, the wheels will then switch so that they are turning in the same direction as the front wheels, helping improve stability. It's a really clever piece of tech, and it helps the Megane stand out from the crowd. Before we get into how the 4-wheel steering affects the way the Megane drives, it's important to look at exactly what improvements have been made for the Megane RS300 Trophy. Along with the mechanical front diff, there is a slight bump in power thanks to the ceramic ball bearing turbocharger, lifted from the more hardcore Trophy R. The 6-speed dual clutch transmission isn't torque limited like the manual, meaning you get the full 420 newton meters from the engine. This RS Trophy model comes fitted with what Renault describes as the Cup chassis. What this means is it has stiffer springs, dampers and anti-roll bars, more performance-focused rubber at all 4 corners, and the driver's seat has even been lowered by 20mm. There is also an active sports exhaust system and new-look alloy wheels which sit in front of upgraded slotted brake discs that shed 1.8 kilos each from the front axle. As part of the suspension, Renault uses something called hydraulic bump stops, which it says are like dampers within dampers. The system is meant to slow down large, fast compressions and stop the car from experiencing crashy wheel deflections. But from our experience, the hydraulic bump stops aren't a like-for-like replacement for adaptive dampers, which are lacking from the Megane RS's spec sheet. Now we get to the entirely subjective world of looks, and it's here where the design team actually have quite a challenging job. With a hot hatch, if they go too conservative, there's no discerning it from your nana's grocery getter. If they go too wild, then you're going to look like a boy racer who just got his first copy of Need for Speed. Thankfully, at least to my eye, I think Renault have done a really good, mature job with the Megane RS. You get these wonderful pumped front arches, and at the rear there's that wonderful, aggressive rear diffuser. To my eye, the only really chintzy treatment that I can see are these checkered flag lights in the grille, but it's no serious deal breaker. Inside the cabin of the Megane, there are plenty of nice materials, particularly the Alcantara and leather on this steering wheel, and these awesome Alcantara bucket seats. There are some downsides though, particularly the use of hard, scratchy plastics around some of the dash area, and there's a really strange ergonomic flaw, and it has to do with the paddle shifters which are mounted to the column. Now, traditionally I wouldn't find that to be such an issue, but it seems Renault have only fitted half a shifter. Now, this is to accommodate the media controls which are hidden behind the wheel, but it also means that even when you apply a small amount of lock, all of a sudden this paddle becomes frustrating and hard to reach. It's a bit of an odd quirk with this car. One of the biggest changes as part of this facelift is a new, larger central infotainment screen and a fully digital instrument cluster. And the increase in size and clarity is a solid improvement. But you're not really buying a hot hatch for its interior infotainment and quality materials, are you? You want to know how it drives. So strap in and let's get into it. When it comes to driving, the Megane RS is a riot. The engine feels race ready, and so too does the suspension. You've always got power when you want it thanks to that 6-speed dual clutch transmission, and the whole car feels hunkered down and taut and just built for great driving roads like this. Having said that, this Cup chassis is very firm. You wouldn't really want to be using it for day-to-day commuting all that often. Keeping with the theme, the steering in the Megane is pin sharp and the off-center accuracy is really sublime. But there's a bit of a catch, and it has to do with the four-wheel steering. It adds a bit of uncertainty to the whole driving experience, particularly when it comes to corner entry. You'll get to the start of a corner and you'll go to turn in, and you're not really sure if the rear wheels are going to be helping you or hindering you, depending on the speed. If it's a slow enough corner and the rear wheels are helping you, you won't need to apply much lock at all as the rear end becomes really eager to rotate. However, if it's faster and over the transition period, you'll find that you'll need to apply more lock to get the car turned in and really hooked into the corner. So what you'll find yourself doing is on corner entry, applying just a very small amount of lock, figuring out what the rear wheels are doing and then compensating from there. And it's kind of what you need to do unless you've got a third eye that you can train on the speedo. What's important is to drive the Megane and see if it's right for you, because these character traits are something that don't completely ruin the experience, but they are something that you need to adapt to and gel to. It's difficult when you've got rivals like the Honda Civic Type R and the Golf GTI, which are so accomplished out of the box. You need to really love the Megane to get into it. But some people, that's what they want. They want to stand out from the crowd. And the Megane RS does that in a great way, particularly with its mature styling. And remember, unless it comes from France, it's not a proper hot hatch. It's just a sparkling front drive performance car. At the end of the day, the biggest winner here is you, because the Renault Megane is another great addition to the local hot hatch segment, and that's something that we can all celebrate.